Okay, what's up, everyone? The regular session bell just rang, so that was the closing bell. Regular session's over, of course, and now we're in after hours, officially started. We got earnings on deck here. We got PANW, which is Palo Alto. They're reporting at 4:05 p.m. Eastern, so we got about 5 more minutes for that. Their forecast for the EPS 0.77. Some sites say 0.78, around there. Forecast revenue 2.27 billion. So we'll see what their data comes in at and how the stock price reacts to their data, and see what kind of reaction we get. So the anchored VWAP is around 180 bucks. So they are trading above their anchored VWAP. So that's good. Let's just go back to the sticks real quick. So we got PANW. The other one that's reporting is Toll Brothers. Okay, let's see when they report and what their expectations are. TOL, there we go. Toll Brothers. They report, earnings whispers say 4:30 p.m. We'll see if that's the time or not. Sometimes they have typos with the time, but their forecast EPS 2.86, and their forecast revenue 2.5 billion. So we'll see what their data comes in and how it affects their stock price. They're trading right at their anchored VWAP, which is right around, looks like probably around 105-ish. So again, they're trading right at that right now. So we got a couple minutes to burn here before PANW reports. They closed the regular session at $194.62 a share. Kind of sloppy price action, but they were basically flat on the day. Up green a little bit. They're in the after hours right now, just trading right above where they closed at, just kind of waiting on the earnings data here. That's going to drop in just a few minutes. I'll go to 5-minute chart. And then Toll Brothers, they closed the regular session at $104.49. They were technically down today, almost 1.5%. They're trading in after hours, a little bit below where they closed. Getting some pre-earnings jittery candles, kind of pre-earnings price action, if you will, a little volatility. It did wick up to 195.35 and came back down to 194.90. I'll go 1-minute chart because we are getting some volatility here. I think it's just the pre-earnings volatility right before the data gets released. So take it with a grain of salt. Almost 403. Okay, it's 403. So we should be getting the data any minute now on PANW. I got my other screen pulled up, ready to go. So when the data comes in, I'll share that with everybody. And let's go here. Let me check on Twitter just real quick. I saw a pretty cool graphic here, but here's the expected move for the different expiration dates. I just wanted to share that with everybody. And whoops. So expected move for this Friday's expiration is plus or minus 12 or 13 bucks, $12.71, right? So, we could expect a move maybe within that range. These expected moves aren't exact. Sometimes we get double the expected move. Sometimes we get only half the expected move, but it's a good guideline just to kind of look at and know, because the expected move does hit a lot of times. So it's about 4:04 p.m. Eastern. So about 1 more minute, we should start seeing some increased volatility. Let's see here. We check a couple other things. Got some people being patient. Now the PANW, they do cloud native cybersecurity, and just a little bit about the company and their revenue, what have you. Okay, it's about 20 more seconds. We should get the data. I'll keep their chart on the left here, but nice little chart and graphic about their total subscriptions and support revenue, product revenue, total revenue, gross profit, cost of revenue, that kind of thing, operating income, pre-tax income, that kind of stuff. So let's go. We got, okay, the earnings should be out. let me just give this a minute. It's kind of frozen a little bit. Oh, there we go. Okay, I was waiting for something to happen, and immediate initial reaction to the downside, almost a $10 move. Just be a little patient. Sometimes these first initial reactions aren't the real reaction. So let's just give it a second to marinate. And let me go ahead and get the EPS and revenue while we're waiting for the price to stabilize and pick a direction. Look at that, wick down 10 points, came just about all the way back up. Now it's kind of coming down a little bit. Yeah, it's just kind of lots of flickering going on. Initial move was bearish though. And kind of the theme we've been seeing with companies that have reported earnings recently is a lot of companies have been withholding the guidance until Q2 earnings. So kind of creating a little bit of a stalemate. Some of the companies actually been selling off because the companies aren't reporting the guidance. So, you know, we've gotten mixed reactions. Let me refresh my screen and get this EPS and revenue. Okay, so we got the results. Let me just this is from the earnings correspondent, and let me just show this pretty good graphic here. So EPS, again the forecast was 0.77. They did report a 0.80 EPS, so they did beat that by 4%. Revenue came in line. I mean, they beat by a little bit, but overall came in line. The EPS was up double-digit growth year over year. Same with revenue. EPS down 1% quarter over quarter. Revenue up 1% quarter over quarter. So technically they got a double beat, but I have a feeling that this negative reaction is being caused by some sort of guidance issue. That would probably be my guess there. Let's check some other data. Give me 1 second. I'm actually going to go to PANW's investor relations page real quick. See if they released the press release, if you will. Okay. Now, PANW does have a history of having a positive reaction overall, like one day after earnings. So maybe it starts to bottom out, and investors maybe consider this as a discount to the stock, and maybe there's going to be some dip buys, right? Let me look at, okay, here's the quarterly reports here. And this is straight from PANW's website. Total revenue, 2.289 billion, up 15% year over year. Remaining performance obligation, 13.5 billion, so that's up 19% year over year. Total cash and equivalents, over $8 billion. So that's 8.4 billion in total cash and cash equivalents and investments. The data looks fine. Like I said, I have a feeling it's going to be guidance related. So let me just keep my eye out and see if I can get more information on that. It's about 4:08 p.m. Still waiting on Toll Brothers. Earnings Whispers says they report at 4:30. So we got a little bit of time before that happens. Let's take a look at some other data here. Just waiting for it to come in, and then I'll share it with everybody. Let me go ahead and post the EPS and revenue on the bottom of my screen on YouTube. Anch on YouTube says you have PANW puts at 187.50. Very nice. I mean, those are close to going in the money. You know, it's looking like it's doing some sort of dead cat bounce action right now. So we'll see if that, in fact, is what it's going to be. Probably lines up with around 25 to 38% retrace, and then it forms a H pattern and goes lower. So we'll see if that's what's going to happen here. Let me just draw this fib here. Yeah, so it retraced to 38%, around 189.60. I'm on the 1 minute chart too. So for the bulls, you're obviously going to be watching out for some higher lows to see if it starts forming higher lows. For the bears, I mean, the golden ratio is around 192. So if it stays below 192, you got a good chance of this probably coming down lower to retest these after-hour lows if that golden ratio gets rejected there. But so far, it hasn't made it back up to the golden ratio. So still technically bearish overall, of course. Now, once it does start retracing back up to 61%, confidence that maybe it is going to in fact retrace and reclaim this selling, confidence should go up a little bit more. But right now, it possibly could be forming an H pattern, which we trade those H patterns all the time in the Discord, and they're usually bearish patterns. So let's just see. Yeah, Ryan, they did release earnings. Let me post that actually on the YouTube bottom of my screen. There we go. So they did get a double beat. Now revenue, it's considered a beat, but it kind of came in line. They didn't beat it by much. Maybe investors were thinking they were going to beat more. But nonetheless, they had a very, very tiny beat on revenue. They did beat EPS. Consensus was 77 cents. They came in at 80. So would they beat by a little less than 5% on that? But nonetheless, double beat. However, they got an initial negative reaction. I'm almost certain it's guidance related. That's usually what it is. So let me just see if I can get some more info on that. Almost 4:15 p.m. Eastern. And then we'll get the earnings data for Toll Brothers. All right, statement from the CEO of Palo Alto. We again delivered strong top-line results within our profitable growth framework. We look forward to executing against our targets as we close fiscal year 2025. So maybe they just, the guidance stayed the same. Let me just check this here. Fiscal year, okay, financial outlook provides guidance based on current market conditions and expectations. So let me see here. Double-digit growth, okay. Okay, so the guidance is out, and they did not increase the guidance. So, and they might have actually reduced it a little bit. It just printed that H pattern I was talking about. Look at that, y'all. We trade those all the time in the Discord. They're real easy trades. Okay, this is from Alpha Sense. In Q3, we continue to make progress. I have a feeling they're going to sugarcoat a lot of these statements to try and offset the guidance. Q3, we continue to make progress on our platformization strategy and achieved an important milestone in crossing $5 billion in next-gen security. Okay, that's fine, I suppose. Our scale and platform breadth makes us a leading consolidator of choice in cybersecurity. Yeah, of course. So just what I thought. They're gonna kind of chirp up these comments and make them sound all fantastical. But at the end of the day, the investors are not liking the guidance. Here's a good. Okay, this is what's going on here. So they. Okay, they're. For the guidance, all right, they did not change guidance at all. It looks like it came in line. I think investors were thinking that they would raise the guidance, but they didn't. All right, and I think that's kind of what's going on now. Another big line item on the earnings that investors are not happy with is the pre-tax profit. Okay, their pre-tax profit was $310.5 million. The forecast on that was almost 700 million. So they totally shit the bed on that line item. No offense, but not a good line item on the earnings there with that pre-tax profit miss. They literally missed it by 50%. I think that's really what's kind of, it's not making investors happy, that's for sure. And we're getting some selling going on. So that's what's going on. They missed that pre-tax profit by 50%. That's not good at all, especially when we're talking about profit. It does look like your puts are probably going to be okay. Anch on YouTube, it looks like your strike is in the money now. So that's kind of ultimately what we want to happen when we're trading options, naked options, if you will. Try and maybe buy it out of the money, and we would like it to go in the money. more traders, should I say, that try and trade a little bit safer with naked options, they'll typically buy in the money, and they just, but I think the bigger reward is if you buy them out of the money a little bit and they end up going in the money. I think you get a bigger reward with that. Of course, being very, very deep in the money, you're basically just simulating shares at that point, kind of more, the higher the delta, the more kind of picture it would be like synthetic shares, if you will. But yeah, it looks like if you got the 187.50 put, that's officially in the money now. You should see a real nice pop on that tomorrow. Might get hurt a little bit with IV and theta, but ultimately I think that should be a pretty nice payday because you bought out the money and now it's in the money. So you're going to see a real good increase in value on that contract if it stays down here. I'm going to go ahead and adjust my fib since it made a new after hours low after printing that H pattern. Bring this down a little bit more. Technically it hasn't bottomed out yet, has it? So if it keeps making new lows and after hours, you can't stick with the same fib levels. You got to kind of adjust it a little bit until it starts bottoming out, and then maybe starts retracing up to reclaim some of these levels. So made a new after hours low. It has not retraced 25% yet. That 25% retrace, kind of the dead cat bounce area, that's around 187 a share. So we'll see if it can get back above there or not. I do want to mention though, overall, this is a solid company. Even though it's selling off right now, it's down, 10 points here in after hours, almost 10 points. But overall, I mean, fundamentally and financially, I know they missed the pre-tax income by 50%, but, they got a solid, very positive PE ratio. Their EPS is very positive. They're consistently a profitable company if you look at if you just look at the income statement. And they've been pulling in about $250 million to $350 million pretty consistently quarter over quarter for the last 4 quarters. And their debt to asset ratio looks pretty good, and it's trending down, so that's good. Overall, it's $194 stock. There's a reason why they're trading up here, because they're a pretty solid company, right? So overall, just understand, not financial advice, but if you are trying to short this company because of this earnings reaction, just understand that overall it's a solid company, and investors may look at this as a discount on the stock, and there could be some dip buys here. If the financials and fundamentals were shitty, that's a completely different story, But when a solid company has a pullback, a lot of times it's looked at as a discount, and there could be dip buyers. When the bottom comes in, your guess is as good as mine. No one knows the future. If someone tells you they know the future, they're lying to you. But what trading is all about, finding an edge and exploiting that edge, right? And that's what we do. Let me make sure I didn't miss any notes here. Okay, cool. So you, Anch on YouTube formed a spread. I love it. I love your style. Looks like you got a 5 wide spread. So I like it. That's mainly what I trade in the Discord. All I do is I do tons of spreads. I do more advanced options trading. So all my trades are usually multi-leg, lots of credit spreads, lots of debit spreads. I do a lot of the condors. That's a credit spread on each side of the price. I do a lot of inverse iron condors, which is basically a long condor where instead of collecting credit, we're paying a debit. But that's basically a debit spread on each side of the price. I like doing those for the earnings, to be honest with you. Anytime I'm expecting a big move for a catalyst, a long iron condor would be the trade that I would probably use, because that way we can make money. Whether it goes to the moon or burns to the ground, those long iron condors, we can make money either direction. The risk with the long iron condors, where we pay a debit on the onset of the trade, is the risk lies. We don't want the stock being flat, right? We definitely want a move, but we have two ways of winning, either up or down. We just don't want the price to stay flat. That's how you lose the long iron condors. A traditional iron condor, where it's a credit spread on each side of the price, that's what we use when it's stock's trading sideways and it's neutral. Slap a credit spread on each side of the price, let theta do its job, and then we make money on those trades if it's neutral. But just to give you an idea of the type of trades that I do, And matter of fact, last week I opened up a hedge. I'm long on 5 stocks right now, so I decided to put in some SPY put debit spreads. I use SPY because for my hedge trades, I like to do it on the overall market. So I use SPY, and I did some SPY put debit spreads last week. I did the 180. I'm sorry, the 589 and the 588 strike. It was only $1 wide. But any downside on SPY below 588, I'm gonna make money. And on the downside, instead of just sitting on the sidelines with 5 long positions hoping there's no downside. Well, I'm going to be a little proactive, and I'm going to spend a little bit of money on some SPY put debit spreads, buying insurance, if you will. And that way, if SPY does fall below 588, I know for a fact I'm going to be participating in the profitability on that downside move, instead of just sitting on the sideline and doing nothing. Right? So I like to be I like to trade and protect myself. And the way I like to hedge is I take the amount of money I'm expected to make on my long positions, and just to pull a number out of the air. If I'm expected to make $1,000 on my long positions, I'll spend a few $100s to buy some insurance to go the other way. But the reason why I use SPY put debit spreads is I can still get a triple digit return on those, where the risk reward is so much better on my hedge that if I do need to use my hedge, I'm going to get paid some decent money. That's why I use the debit spreads, because if you do them out of the money on the onset of the trade and they end up going in the money, then that's where we get our triple digit returns on those. And for example, like I was saying, if I'm expected to make $1,000 on my longs, I'm okay spending $200 on my insurance with a great risk reward on the insurance. And ultimately, if I end up not needing the hedge, I'm okay with that thing going to zero, because it's insurance. It's just like car insurance. We pay it every month in case you get into an accident. You never get into an accident, you're not getting a refund on that. So that's kind of how I mentally look at my hedges, is how can I spend a little bit of money, get a great risk reward on the trade, but go the opposite direction of my long positions. Or if I have a bunch of short positions, I'll spend a little bit of money on a hedge to the upside. And it's all about pre-planning your trades, knowing how much you're expected to make on this set of trades, and am I willing to spend a little bit of money in case we get some drawdown, and I can make some profit while we're experiencing drawdown, while we await for the drawdown to go away, which in turn means the stocks that we're long on have bottomed out and is starting to go in our favor again. So, I've been trading for so long. This is just the way my mind works with these things. And I just like being fully prepared for any situation. And that's my style of trading. Blue Brain on YouTube, any thoughts on Snow's earnings for tomorrow? Yeah, I mean, we could definitely take a look at that. Looks like we did get our reaction on PANW. Again, initial negative reaction, and I do feel like it's that pre-tax profit line item on their earnings. Not good. The forecast on that was almost 700 million on that pre-tax profit, and they reported 310 million. So they totally, dropped the ball on that line item. Everything else, though, it's not bad. It looks good, actually. They do have double-digit growth with EPS year over year. They do have double-digit growth with revenue year over year. They just kind of got hammered on that pre-tax profit line. Investors are not liking it, and that's why we probably getting this negative reaction. Their guidance remained relatively unchanged. So maybe investors were hoping that they were going to increase their guidance. That didn't happen. And investors just weren't positively surprised. They're negatively surprised, if that makes sense. And yeah, David on YouTube, good point. That they have the pre-earnings run up that we see a lot of times, and maybe institutions, hedge funds, big money, whatever. Maybe they were just front running the earnings, and then sometimes we see the front running of the earnings. It sells off for a discount, and then it ends up running ultimately, a few days after. We've seen that a lot before. So there's a number of different scenarios that could fit the bill. The ultimate, like looking at it from a bird's eye view, my opinion anyway, PANW is a good company. They're solid. This is something that I would not mind having in my retirement account. I mean, if they paid a dividend, that would be even better, but they don't pay a dividend. But that's okay. It's a type of company that, instead of paying a dividend, they're probably reinvesting their extra cash into research and development and growth type stuff. That's not why they're not paying a dividend. So just because they don't pay a dividend doesn't mean it's a bad company. Of course they're taking that money and they're growing the company with us. That's totally fine. But this is like a situation when I look at the income statement and the balance sheet and all the different things behind under the hood of the company, it is a solid company. So I think just short-term pullback. I think investors are probably going to look at this as some sort of discount on the stock, especially the diehard long-term investors will probably think that. Because overall, fundamentally, nothing really changed. They just really dropped the ball on that pre-tax profit. Again, the forecast was 700 million. That came in at 310 million. So not what investors wanted to see. And there's other things to take in consideration too. But overall, from a bird's eye view, I'd like the company. It would be something that I wouldn't mind owning on the longer term frame. So for all you PANW bulls out there, it's not all doom and gloom. You're going to be okay. All right. I don't think PANW is going anywhere. Their financial fundamentals are solid going into the earnings, and they still are solid after the earnings. They just kind of missed on a few line items, and investors didn't take it positively. But like I said, I think this could be an ideal candidate for some sort of dip buy now that this earnings is out of the way. Maybe once it starts finding a bottom, it'll start trending back up. I have all the confidence in the world about that. Let's talk about so Snow is reporting tomorrow. Toll Brothers, just real quick, Toll Brothers is reporting in 4 minutes. So let me just maybe look at Snow real quick. I'll go trading view for Snow. Okay, and also PANW has retraced 25%, so maybe they're trying to put a bottom in here. If this fails, it's making lower highs. That's not what the bulls want to see right now, but we'll see if selling picks up or not. Ideally, we'd like it to hold here. Maybe this could be the start of some sort of higher lows, but we just got to keep our eye on it. Of course, there's still 3.5 more hours of after hours price action. So I'm going to take a look at Snow here in a minute, but Toll Brothers is about to report. Okay, we got about 3 minutes on Toll Brothers. So let me, I'll put Snow right here. That's tomorrow with Snow, everyone's going to have their eyes on them. So, we can look at a few things for Snow. Let me pull up a couple things that might be helpful. Just a couple sites that have some free info that kind of compile some of the previous earnings data and kind of give us an idea of what we could possibly might get or might expect. We got for Snowflake last 4 earnings. This is on Tip Ranks, by the way, totally free information. I'll actually post this link on YouTube. It's a good tool. It doesn't cost any money. Totally free data. But this is the site I go to look at what their reactions were for the previous earnings, right? So the last time they reported on February 26th, they were green the next day, one day after the earnings release. They were up 4.5%, which puts it at about $7 per share to the upside. The time before that, they exploded, positive explosion. They were up 32% the next day when they reported on November 20th. Geez, that's like $40 a share to the upside on that one. This is Snowflake, by the way. And then so they're coming off back-to-back positive reactions. It's just something to keep in mind, okay? It doesn't mean they're going to have a positive reaction this time. But, back-to-back positive reactions, they've obviously been doing a good job pleasing investors for the past 2 earnings releases. So just something to keep in mind. We can also, let's see what their forecast is. Go to Snow, and then we'll have Toll Brothers here data in about a minute. So Snow's earnings, there's reporting tomorrow right after the closing bell, 4:05 p.m. Eastern. Forecast EPS 0.21, forecast revenue $1 billion. So we know they got solid revenue. trading well above their anchored VWAP. Their anchored VWAP is right below 160. They're trading a little bit above 180 right now. So just some things to keep in mind. Sometimes the price does like to come back to the anchored VWAP at some point, kind of like a magnet. We don't really know when those things happen, but it's just a level of reference. If they do get a negative reaction for any sort of reason, you could probably be looking around 160s that it could maybe retrace back to there. But for the bulls, obviously you're wanting a positive reaction. So just some simple things we can kind of look at. Toll Brothers is out right now. But anyways, with snow, like I said, they're coming up 2 back-to-back positive reactions. Hopefully, analysts didn't make their forecasts too high. And sometimes we see that where they get a nice positive reaction and then the forecasts for their next earnings kind of go up, and kind of makes it sometimes a little harder for them to hit the forecast because they're coming off a positive reaction. So hopefully we don't see a flip-flop where snow gets a negative reaction because the forecasts are too high. Just some things to keep in mind. If you want to be super safe, do an inverse iron condor. That means, you know, it doesn't matter if it goes to the moon or burns to the ground. You can make money both directions. You just don't want snow to have a neutral reaction and stay flat. That's where the risk is with the inverse long iron condors, if you will. It's a long iron condor. Some people call them inverse iron condors. Basically, debit spread on each side of the price. You can make money if it goes up or down. Just don't want it to stay flat. So not financial advice, but that's how I usually trade earnings, is I do the long iron condors. So maybe that give you some ideas. That was for Blue Brain on YouTube. So we're getting some flickering action on Toll Brothers here. Let me put PANW back on the left just because I was wanting to see if it was trying to make a higher low. Looks like it is trying to print a higher low. We'll see if this holds up. Let's make sure it breaks structure around 188, and that'll kind of confirm that this is a higher low, and that could be good for the PANW bulls. But again, until the golden ratio breaks, and that's 191, I'm not really going to have much confidence that this is going to go back up, and it might even go lower. So make or break on PANW for the bulls needs to reclaim 191 for my confidence to increase that. Yes, this is going back to baseline. It's reclaiming some of the selling that just happened with the initial reaction. So for the bulls, above 191, you should start feeling a little bit better. For the bears, if it don't break this golden ratio, it's coming down. So for the bears, if it stays below 191, maybe there's another round of selling tomorrow in pre-market and it goes lower. So just real easy level, just 191, either above or below. That's going to be your signals there for me personally. Toll Brothers closed the regular session at 104.51. It was down 1.45% on the day. Sitting here in after hours, up almost 2%. The earnings technically should be out. Earnings Whisper said they reported at 4:30, that they report at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. So let me see if I got some data here. Okay, earnings are out for Toll Brothers. They got double-digit beats, folks. EPS year over year could have been better, but quarter over quarter it was up 100%. So maybe they're trending in the right direction here. Let me just show this graphic from the earnings correspondent here. I'll leave Toll Brothers on the right so we can see the candle. Matter of fact, these are 15-minute candles. Let me just go down to the 1 minute. I normally don't look at 1 minute candles. I usually trade off up to 15 minutes, 1 hour charts. Sometimes when I'm day trading, I'll use the 5 to enter and exit. But I'm just using 1 minute because that's the only candle time frame we have to go off of based on the earnings just being released, right? So I'll stick on the 1 minute here. Initial positive reaction, they did wick up to 109, almost 110, 109.80, around there. Came back down, and now they're kind of trending back up again. Kind of sloppy candles, I'm not going to lie. Very sloppy, ugly looking candles. Nonetheless, it's still green here in after hours, up 3%. So where's that graphic I was going to show? And give me 1 second here. Okay, there it is. So let's look at what's going on with their numbers. It looks pretty positive to me. As far as the forecasts go, they got double-digit beats on those. So EPS, the forecast was 2.86. They just reported $3.50. They smashed it. So they beat EPS by 22%. Very nice. Revenue, 2.49 billion was the forecast. They just reported 2.739 billion. Beat that by 10%. So double-digit percent beats on top and bottom line, EPS and revenue. EPS year over year looks a little ugly. I know it's down 23%, but quarter over quarter EPS is up 100%. So maybe they're finally starting to rebound on the year over year EPS. So they could be heading in the right direction with that. And revenue's up 47% quarter over quarter. So quarter over quarter numbers are solid. Year over year numbers, not so much. It looks like they maybe got in a bit of a slump. But with the EPS, with the quarter over quarter figures, it looks like they're well on their way out of that slump, and it looks pretty good. Now this is Toll Brothers, okay? Go back to a daily chart. Yeah, that's what I thought here. Yeah, so this is going back to December of last year. They were in a bit of a downtrend, okay, and that also reflected in their previous earnings. Looks like they're finally trying to break out of the downtrend. Okay, so we'll see. They're trading at 109 and some change, so they're up $5 a share in after hours. We'll go back over here. PANW is still struggling to find the bottom. This is 15-minute candles, by the way. Oh, thanks, Blue Brain. Appreciate the kind words. I have a lot of fun doing this, you know. I really do. And just so everyone knows, I'm currently wheeling several stocks. Made over $1,000 last Friday. One of my wheels fully rotated on the covered call side. Of course, my covered call strike was well above my cost basis, and I was okay with my shares getting called away, and I secured a fat profit, and I was very happy with that. Currently have five wheel trades going right now. So I do a lot of wheel strategy in the Discord, if anyone was wondering. I have a lot of fun with it. It's very low stress. You know, if you're sick of the rat race of freaking trying to day trade every day, it's time to change the mindset, right? You got to change the mindset. Stop trying to get rich overnight. I know everyone's heard this before, but you know, that's why I trade the way I trade, because I'm not trying to get rich overnight, as much as I would like it. But you know, I target weekly and monthly income, and I mainly sell to open options. I'm basically write contracts. That's what I do in the Discord. I'm a contract writer. We provide liquidity to the option chain, just like the market maker. So I'm kind of like a little mini market maker, right? So I love writing contracts. I love collecting premium, and that's really my forte over here in the Discord. So if you're interested in that kind of trading, check out the links in the description. I think there's a free link down there. You don't even cost no money. You join the free section. See how you like it. Tag me in the chat. I'll come by and say hello, and we can chat for a little bit. But yeah, you know, I just love doing this kind of stuff, and it's a lot of fun. Again, PANW, this could be dead cat bounce, just going to go lower maybe. And these are 15-minute candles. It looked like it wanted to start printing higher lows, but that just got invalidated. I'll go back to one. Yeah, see, I was kind of hoping that this maybe would turn into a higher low right here, around 186 and some change, and that just got invalidated right here. So, you know, we need more things to happen on this for me to convince that it's going to retrace back up. But I think that pre-tax profit line on their earnings report, it really rubbed investors the wrong way. They missed that by 50%. That's really, I think, what's killing it right now. But again, I'd want to repeat, you know, just my opinion. Overall, PANW is going to be fine. It's going to be fine, all right? Investors didn't get what they wanted, and there's going to be a little knee-jerk reaction selling. It's ultimately will bottom and start trending back up. PANW is going to be just fine. There's a reason why they're trading up here in the 180s, 190s, okay? If you bought short-term puts on it, like I said, as long as it stays, if it doesn't retrace, you know, the golden ratio here, you know, you bought it before close today, you should have a good little payday on that option tomorrow if you were doing a earnings lotto trade with a put option. So the Bears look like they might have won this one for the time being, but just keep in the back, just know this ain't no this ain't no crappy company. This is the ideal company that will bottom out and will start going the other way, because longer term investors that know they have good fundamentals, that know they have good financials, they're going to consider this a discount and they're going to add. Nothing's ever 100% or guaranteed. Everyone knows that, but that's just how I feel about it. Okay. All right, let me go back intraday on Toll Brothers, because they were working with a positive reaction, and they're getting a nice positive reaction here. They're up over $5 a share. They had double-digit percent beats on top and bottom line for EPS and revenue. So, grats to Toll Brothers on that data. It looks really positive and really good. Let's take a look at some other things just real quick. Make sure I didn't miss anything. It's almost 4:45 p.m. Eastern. Tomorrow's earnings is going to be so much fun with snow. I can't wait for that one. Let me just see if I can get some more info on Toll Brothers here. Toll Brothers, everyone knows that they're a home builder, right? So they build homes. You need to look here right on the profile on Webull that they're a home builder, okay? And they reported since last earnings they delivered almost 3,000 homes. 2,899 homes were built and delivered to the customer. They say delivered, but obviously built and sold to the customer. And let's see here, they did announce they announced a share repurchase program. That's one of the reasons why investors are liking this share repurchase program. 1.6 million shares for a total aggregate of $177.4 million at an average price of 107.84. Wow. So that they actually, these are shares that have already been repurchased. Okay, I want to clarify that. All right, so those were shares that were repurchased, so kind of like a share buyback plan, but it's already done, and that was at the 107.84 price. So that's probably why it's trading above there now. They declared a quarterly dividend of 25 cents a share, so they increased the dividend by 9%. That's why they're getting a positive reaction. There's some really good stuff here with their earnings data. Increased the dividend. The share repurchase, 1.6 million shares repurchased at a share price of 107.84. And I'm telling you right now, increasing that dividend by 9%, income investors are just loving this. Very nice, Toll Brothers. Let's look at some other things. So they didn't increase guidance, but they didn't lower it either. They reaffirmed it. So that's fine. Statement from the CEO: we're pleased with our second quarter results as we delivered earnings that significantly exceeded expectations, which they sure did. We just went over that. They beat double-digit percents on EPS and revenue. And several other line items. One of the other line items, let me just share this real quick because I'm really impressed with Toll Brothers right now, I have to say. Oops, I moved it over too far. Hold on. There we go. Land sales, that actually was down 83%, but that's okay because the business they're in is building houses, right? So that's fine. Let's look at some other things. So yeah, EPS, now they beat EPS by 23%. And let's look at some fiscal year 2025 full year. So they're predicting by the end of 2025, this year, 11,200 to 11,600 units. Average delivered price per home, $900,000 range. So they're obviously, upper echelon of the home builders, if you will, compared to KB Home and US Home. I'm over here in Florida, so we got a lot of KB Home down here and stuff like that. So yeah, I have to say their earnings are great and investors are loving it. So I'm going to go ahead and say this is a congratulations to the Toll Brother Bulls. Okay. PANW, they're trying to find the bottom. Let's see if they can finally print a higher low here. They're working on it, but my opinion about PANW, I know, for the bulls specifically, that this is not what you want to see. But if you're a long-term investor, I'd probably be looking at this as more of a discount on the current stock price. And it did kind of run up a little bit before earnings, almost like it was front running the earnings. So take that in consideration as well. If you're a long-term investor, you're going to be fine. Overall, their fundamentals and their financials are solid. It's fine. Okay. So it's not all bad for the bulls. And I'm more specifically talking about the people that are long-term holders of this stock. You're going to be fine. All right. Once it bottoms out, it'll start going back up. Short term, though, if you bought some sort of lotto put before the close, you'd probably get paid on that tomorrow, especially if your strike ends up in the money. You should have a nice little present for you tomorrow morning. I probably wouldn't play any games for you PANW bears. Don't be playing no games on, maybe I keep holding it for the rest of the day or for the rest of the week. If it was me, not financial advice, this is a company you don't really want to play around with on the short side. My point being, if you have a reasonable amount of profit tomorrow morning because you did some sort of lotto put trade on it, I'd probably be cashing that out tomorrow morning, because this is a company that kind of fits into a situation where once they do bottom out, it's going to start trending back up, and all that money that you could have made on the short-term put side is going to evaporate. I'm telling you, it's just going to take one solid dip buyer with deep pockets, and this thing will be back in the 190s, maybe later tomorrow. We don't know, okay? And I'm not going to act like I know. I just know how to play defense really well, and what we should and shouldn't be, what I should and shouldn't be doing, and how I kind of manage my trades, if you will. Just things I've learned over the years that just make sense, But yeah, with that said, that's really all I got on these two. We did do a little preview of the snow earnings that they're reporting tomorrow at 4:05 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to be streaming that, so I'm looking forward to streaming snow earnings. But yeah, let me just, before I wrap up the stream, I just want to remind everyone again about the in-person event that we're doing. And it's going to be in Chicago this year. This is the event graphic that we've done up. This is the second annual Traders Paradise event. Last year it was in Delray Beach. I live in Florida, so I just jumped in my truck and drove over. I didn't even have to deal with plane tickets or nothing. So that was fun. I got to meet a lot of the members in person. We did live trading every morning. I actually released some more advanced trading strategies, some new and really fun ways to trade that it's not your normal type of trading. Like I say in the Discord, all my trades usually have multiple legs on it, and I do a lot of fancy multi-leg options. So I released some new strategies to them, and we've been making money on the new strategies since the last event. And so that was in Delray Beach last year. This year it's in Chicago. It's a 4-day event from the June 9th through the 12th. And it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be at the Hyatt Regency. Okay. That's in Chicago, O'Hare, Chicago, for anyone familiar with the Chicago area. It's the Hyatt Regency O'Hare, based out of Chicago. I can't wait to stay at that hotel room. The earnings call for PANW. Yeah, let me get that info for everyone real quick before I get into this. And I'll even post the link. That'll take you straight to the earnings call. Okay, give me 1 second. I'll get that for everybody. So 1 second here. I was just looking at the link earlier. I'll post that on the bottom of my screen. It's going to be for PANW. I'll get the link for Toll Brothers too while I'm at it. Okay, so what we want to do, I just Googled PANW Investor Relations, real easy. Just click on that first one there. And we're going to go to right here. So quarterly reports, all right? And right on the homepage, you're going to see right here, webcast. All right, so let me click on that for everybody. And here it is here, May 20th. Now it's 1:30 p.m. Pacific time, okay? So give me 1 second. I'll get the Eastern time for everyone. The Eastern time is at 4:30. So what's going on right now? Okay, hold on 1 second. It's 4:30 p.m. So it's actually going on right now. So let me post this link for everyone and y'all can screenshot it, okay? And that'll take you right to the web call, okay? It's going on. It's been going on for about 20 minutes. Now, it probably was recorded, so you'll be able to watch it later if you missed it. All right, so there's the link for the PANW earnings call. As a matter of fact, let me post the shorter link. Will be easier for people to screenshot. Okay, right there. All right. So screenshot that link. It'll take you right to the webcast link, and they're saying it started at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. All right, and it goes on for an hour, so you only miss 20 minutes of the web call. They're still going to be having it for another 40 minutes, so you probably didn't miss a lot. So yeah, Traders. So back to Traders Paradise Chicago, our next in-person event. There is a discount going on the tickets right now, 30% off. So a great way to save some money. And just a little recap of what we're doing at the event. We're live trading at market open every day. So bring your laptops so you can trade right alongside with us. Interactive workshops. We're going to do live masterclass on advanced options. I'm going to be hosting that one. I'm also going to be releasing a new trading strategy at this event that I don't think a lot of the Discord members haven't seen this before. So it's going to be a new way of trading. I'm going to show everyone that. We're also going to do an AI and text-based deep dive. There's also going to be a whole session on how to develop as an investor. That's going to be hosted by Lou Bassanisi. He was just on Fox News the other day. So he talks on TV a lot. We're very lucky to have him as a speaker at this in-person event, Lou Bassanisi. So you don't want to miss it. We're going to be revealing a new trading view indicator. There's going to be private VIP dinners. There's some really high-level discussions going on at these dinners, okay? So you don't want to miss it. Once you get your ticket, call the hotel right away, okay? You might even get an email from them because I think they're electronically notified once you buy the ticket. But call the hotel because we blocked off 50 hotel rooms, and they're all discounted hotel rooms. But once those 50 hotel rooms get booked up, you're going to have to pay full price for the hotel. There is still available rooms on the block of rooms we blocked off for the discount. So anyways, yeah, I'm looking forward to the event. Again, it's June 9th through the 12th. You don't want to miss it. We're going to be there live with everyone in person. Again, live trading every day with everyone. It's just going to be a blast. So if you end up buying tickets and attending the conference, again, June 9th through the 12th, I definitely look forward to meeting you. It's going to be a blast. And if you're just looking for a new trading home, a new Discord, a new community, a supportive community, and come check us out. The link's in the description. If you do end up joining us, tag me in the chat. I'll come by and say hello, and we'll chit chat and we'll get to know each other. But yeah, other than that, tomorrow's earnings, snow. We got snow on deck for tomorrow, so I can't wait to see how their price reacts to their earnings and what their earnings data ends up being. But I hope y'all enjoyed the stream, and I hope everyone has a great night. And until next time, I'll see everyone in the next stream. Cheers and have a good night.